Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Barry, Season 1, Episode 7. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously picking up in the aftermath of last episode, let's kind of focus on Barry at this point. Obviously, luckily, him and Chris were able to get out of the crash, but one of Cristobal's men found him, and Chris sadly had to kill the guy and Chris was reluctant, and I was wondering, like, right, is it because your time in the military, you're not really too keen on killing someone? It's like, no, he's never been out in the field. Like, he was always someone that did the logistics, so he had never shot anyone before, and now he did because of what Barry asked him to do. And so Barry's dealing with the aftermath of finding out, like, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, the cops found that stack of money, the money Taylor had given him, and now they are connecting Ryan to the Chechens and stuff like that. So Barry's like, yes, it's all benefiting and working out for him in the long run, but it still kind of sucks because Detective Moss, at first, the moment she hears, like, there's two dead people who are Marines, it's like, well, who in that acting class was a Marine? Barry. So she assumed Barry was one of the bodies, but it's like, oh no, it's Taylor. And Taylor had, once again, luckily for Barry, I guess, he still had Ryan's book, and Taylor held on to it because Taylor took it out and started reading it and such. So now it looks like, oh, Taylor's connected to Ryan, and so that kind of ties it up in a neat little bow, so it doesn't look like anything's going to necessarily point to Barry. Maybe not. But there's still the complicated loose end of Chris, because Chris is freaking out. It's like, wow, we did this, man. We left Taylor and Vaughn behind. That we got to tell somebody. We got to go to police and tell them it's self-defense. And Barry's like, we can't do that. Chris, you know what I do for a living now. Don't even get it twisted. You can't feign ignorance. The fact is you do this, like, but Chris is like, right, I need to tell the truth, because if I don't, even if I have to go to jail, I won't say anything about you. It's like, no, they're going to connect you to me. We're Facebook friends. And, like, understandably, Chris is flipping and freaking out. He's like, right, because Barry's trying to tell him, you do this, the people I work for will come after your wife. They will kill your wife. They will kill your son, and they will kill you. You need to not do this. You better not tell anyone. Let's just keep quiet. But Chris, it weighs too much on his consciousness. You know, because Barry would be able to justify, well, Barry's been doing it for a while, so he can easily justify it. It's like, did I kill an innocent person? No, but it doesn't matter whether that person was innocent or not. For Chris, I still killed someone. It's the first time he's ever killed anyone. So, of course, it's going to weigh heavier on him than it would necessarily Barry. And so, it is a situation of Chris has too much of a guilty conscience. He's like, my wife, like, the moment I left, she was asking, she knew something was up, and he's like, if I go back there, I'm going to end up telling her everything. He's like, I don't care what happens to you, Barry, or anyone else. I'm doing this. I don't care if I have to go to jail. I'm going to tell the cops the truth. And Barry's like, why did you have to say that? And that's when the whole conversation shifts, and Chris is like, you're right, I'm sorry, because Chris knew in that moment, he's talking about killing me. He's going to have to kill me. He's like, Barry, you don't have to do this. I'm going to drop you off. Everything's going to be fine. I was curious, like, how Barry was going to do. I was like, are you going to choke him or what? And Barry just, like, pulls out the gun. Pow! And you're like, wow. And obviously with the play and everything going on, and obviously Barry's not in the right state of mind. His guilt is riddling him. Obviously, he had his little fantasy as he was going on his way to the play, that he was going to, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to nail my line, and then, oh my God, and then Sally's going to end up nailing her performance, and he feels so good about it. It's like, I was able to help her, but then immediately reality kind of hits him, and he's thinking about him killing Chris, and by the time he shows up, he's just trying to be like, all right, get my line right. But he can't stop thinking not only about killing Chris, but also what that did to his wife. He's like, he made her a widow. He made, now his son's going to have to continue growing up without his father. And it's like, that's on me. Because that's the sad thing. Because Barry even tried to tell Chris, it's like, I told you to get out of the car. Because that was the thing. Chris was under the impression, like, oh, we're just going to scare these guys. He didn't know how real shit was about to get. So it falls on Taylor. But then you can also take this back even further. And I think that's also going to be the thing. Not only did Barry have to kill Chris, he's the reason this all happened. If he had killed Taylor like Fuchs had told him to, none of this would have happened. Taylor wouldn't have gotten Chris and Vaughn involved. Vaughn's one thing, but Chris as well. Also, things wouldn't have turned out the way they did, because maybe if Taylor had never read Gene's book, it is just that thing of everything culminating and leading to the wrong thing. Argument's sake could be this is all Fuchs' fault, because Fuchs is the one that wanted Barry to do this from the beginning. Even though Barry wanted to walk away from all this, they were about to call off the hit until Fuchs was like, "No, he convinced Goran to put the hit back on the table." So you make the argument, it all trails back to that. So I think it's more so like the actions were a domino effect. It just led to this, it led to that, to this, and this is where we are. And ultimately, Barry is breaking down, just like triggered by this iron thing, and goes out on stage, tears in his eyes, and says the line and crushes it. And in that moment, it made Sally find something. She was able to feel that so much, that raw emotion, and she killed her performance. So I don't know whether, because at first I was like, oh, did she actually like realize like, oh, how much Barry was hurting? But it's that acting thing of like, right, whatever you did to get there got me there too, and it made the performance amazing, because she called in a guy that she wants to represent her, and this was kind of her one shot, especially after the whole Mike debacle. So for her, it's like, this is my opportunity, my chance, and so. But Barry was so wrapped up in everything, she's like, right, he's not going to come through in the end. But he is. Also, just really quick note, it's like, hey, we do get more Natalie. I guess she just wasn't in last episode. And once again, how much she's going to be in the future, in the next season or not, once again, I don't know. Like, I'm curious, like, what the scheduling is between, like, The Good Place and this. Whether or not we see more of her in the second season or not. But regardless, I was like, oh, hey, so seeing her, I was actually kind of quite surprised. I love that it also comes back to bite her a little bit, because I didn't talk about it last episode, but Gene had told her, like, right, why do you constantly feel the need to go at things alone? Like, there's an entire team here to support you. So she was looking for someone to say Barry's single line. No one was going to help her, not even Natalie, kind of basically being like, hey, you made your bed, you basically have to lie in it. So it's that, I like that immediately coming back full circle, like, right, you try to go everything alone. But once again, she nailed the performance, and I think maybe this speaks volumes. She was kind of looking like, oh, where'd Barry go? Because you helped me get here, so I'm thankful for that, but I think it might also kind of speak volumes that she never really did go to check on him at any point in time. Gene did. He was like, oh, man, I almost believed you. But Barry, like, he's upset. Like, he punches some a painting or whatever, or a picture on the wall. He breaks the glass, ends up throwing a chair. Like, obviously, it's devastating. And luckily, everything worked. Sadly, just as his world's kind of falling apart, Sally's doing great. She's like, oh my God, that guy is going to start representing me. I don't know what you did, Barry, but, whatever you are an actor. He's like, I am. And she's like, right, whatever you did to get there, you need to keep doing that, because it's part of your process now. And so it's almost like, okay, so all I have to do is kill people I don't want to kill. Continue killing, but not just killing people I, have affinity to and guilt over. And that's, so I'm curious to see what that means for Barry going forward. How that's going to play out. So, especially with everything going on, because Goran, Hank, and Fuchs all still they haven't found out that Barry wasn't one of the bodies. They still think Barry's dead, and because Barry knows, like, right, because I screwed the pooch on this so badly, they're going to want me dead because I messed up so badly. So I guess that's also why he's keeping it super low-key. Fuchs is now on the chopping block now, because the moment they found out that Barry screwed the pooch, they were like, Goran was like, kill Fuchs. And he ends up talking to Cristobal, and he's like, hey, man, I heard you took over one of my stash houses, and then I came here, and, like, we could have worked together. And then it's like, oh, man, he's actually a super nice guy. And he references a book, was it The Four Agreements, which apparently Hank he's read. He's like, oh, is that something from The Four Agreements? And he's like, oh, that's such a fantastic, terrific book. And I even love that the cops have his phone, I'm assuming Goran's phone tapped, and they're hearing the whole conversation between Cristobal and Goran. But also it's like, and yeah, the next 10 minutes are them going back and forth about different self-help books, which are all terrific. Just saying, he's like, right, there's no shame in asking for help is my point. I love that that's someone's dialogue. But I also think, just really quickly, about the whole Detective Moss situation, I thought was kind of interesting. When they went to Taylor's place and found the book, I think it is kind of cute that she stares at the picture of Jean on the front, because she's just like, oh, that's kind of, she had to kind of end things, but, I mean, I wonder, will that change the moment the investigation's over? Like, would that not be a conflict of interest or issue anymore? So, we'll see where things kind of go on that front, but I love how heartbroken Hank is about all of this. He's like, right, I was at the store, I thought I saw Barry, but it was not Barry. And Fuchs has known Barry for a long time. He'd actually brought this up in a previous episode and forgot to talk about it. The reason why he looks after Barry the way he has is because Barry is legitimately family to him, because he was tight with Barry's dad and made a promise, like, right, that he'd look after Barry for him. And he's like, yeah, because I've known Barry, I think he said, like, Barry was like 5 when I first, like, saw his dumb face. And I think his line was, oh, and he never had an opportunity to apologize to me. It's too late now. But now it's like, right, no matter where you go, Fuchs, we are going to kill you because this is kind of on you. You're the one that convinced Goran to go after Cristobal, and Cristobal ended up being a really nice guy. And I don't know how to interpret that either. Cristobal was trying to be the nice guy, while also it's just like, oh, he's a nice guy, but that should be terrifying because he is that much of a sociopath or psychopath that he presents himself as a nice guy when in actuality he is just the very bad guy. Or is it just like, no, man, I am genuinely a nice guy, but I do terrible things. Like, I'm curious, is it just a front just to kind of disarm you, or is that just who he really is? Either way, it's kind of Goran's screwed because Cristobal's like, nah, we kind of have to go to war now. Sorry, buddy. So things are kind of screwed on that front. Granted, the police are involved now. They know what's what about what's going on. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us. The next episode is the season 1 finale. So it's going to be interesting to see how they wrap up this season, and obviously like how what that sets up and carries over into season 2. I'm excited to find out. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.